The In Conversation podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my In Conversation podcast series. My guest for this episode is university lecturer and public relations expert, Evadney Campbell Mbe. Hello, Evadney. Welcome to my podcast series.
Thank you so much.
So, what have you been up to recently?
Well, in this unusual situation that we all find ourselves in, I seem to have been, I'm working at home and I'm working on my computer quite a bit, thankfully, but I'm also cooking and baking. So that's my thing these days.
I'll have to see if I can come round sometime and sample some of your baking.
I'm telling you, baking isn't my thing, but I've learned. But today I baked pineapple and carrot cake. Last week it was a banana and coconut. So we're getting there. You never know.
So, Evadney, where did you grow up and what was it like?
I was born in Jamaica, in St. Anne, and I grew up in St. Anne before I moved to the UK at 11. So, and I was born right in the country of St. Anne, right up in the hills, and stayed there till I was 11, then moved to this country and grew up in Gloucester. So I've had two very different youth. Although Gloucester being a country probably wasn't quite as removed from St. Anne in the hills. But, you know, I grew up in a kind of really carefree, happy-go-lucky life. I was an only child, brought up by my grandparents. And so, you know, I have very, very fond memories of my time in Jamaica.
So, did you go to school in Jamaica or here in the UK?
Primary and infant school in Jamaica, and I came here just in time to start secondary school in the UK at 11.
So, how was your time at school and what were your favourite subjects?
Actually, I love school. I was always a good student. So I've always enjoyed school. Even when I was in Jamaica, I loved school. And I was very fortunate that I always did well in school. My grandparents, you always felt like if you came anything less than second in a class, and even when you came second, it was never good enough. So I've always been very, not competitive in a nasty way, but I always tried my best because I was always conscious of wanting to be good and wanting to succeed. And in my secondary school here, I went to what then were secondary modern before the comprehensive system came in place. And I was really lucky because I was in a very, very mixed school with lots of other black, it's all girls school, but lots of other black girls. And in Gloucester, where I grew up, 90+% of the black community were from Jamaica. And they were either split between St. Anne or St. Catherine, which means that the families knew each other. So I had a really, really happy school life. I was a school prefect. I don't know if I had any special subject that I particularly loved because I just liked studying. I think if anything I didn't like was geography. I really did not like geography, and I don't know why. But and certain types of maths, of course, because I always felt that learning trigonometry and all that kind of stuff, I didn't see the point in them. But apart from that, I had a really, really I don't recall disliking school or having any problems in school at all.
I understand you attended university. What subjects did you study?
Well, my first degree I did at what was then Cheltenham and Gloucester higher. I think it's now called Gloucestershire, University of Gloucestershire or something like that, but it wasn't university status when I did my degree. And I did business and finance, but I specialized in kind of human resources because I really loved all my life. I've liked people and I've liked learning and working with people. And so although my degree final was business and finance, a lot of what I did were the human resources aspect of business. And then in later life, much, much later when I career, I went to Paribas University in Birmingham and did a postgraduate degree in broadcast journalism.
Well, you are a lecturer at Bedfordshire University. What subject do you lecture on?
I do 2 universities at the moment. At Luton in Bedfordshire, I teach the radio production module, and that's with the second year journalism students. They're doing a whole series of media-related degrees, and the ones that then have radio module as one of their subjects, I deliver the radio production training. And London at the University College London, which is University LCC, so it's London College of Communications. I do a PR training with the students who are doing their masters. So there is a part of their media relations masters. There is an element of public relations, and I teach them the area of public relations and radio interviews. So from a PR point of view, kind of working with the radio and also radio interviewing.
When did you become involved with public relations or PR training?
Wow, yeah, that's really interesting because I used to present a radio show for BBC covering the southwest of England. So that was broadcast through 3 radio stations, BBC Gloucestershire, BBC Bristol, and BBC Wiltshire. And that was a magazine show. So it's aimed at the Black community across those regions. And it was a music and speech show. So I used to do a lot of the publicities with events that were happening all over the country, Black music events particularly. So the promoters would come to me to do interviews with artists who were on the shows or just to publicize the shows. And so what happened was, apart from the stuff I did as the radio presenter, sometimes they'd come and ask for help in doing PR for their events. And I used to do that on a part-time basis, just helping out. And it was really more of a hobby because I enjoyed the music industry. And so I used to do that. And when I moved to London in 2001, I used to work particularly with ARM, events promoters. And one day he kind of said, you've got to do this properly. You've got to set up a company. You've got to set up a PR company so we can do this properly. And my daughter, who by then was working in PR, because she did a communications degree and was working for a PR company, and had then moved down to work for BBC on its music station, the One Extra. So we both started working together doing this PR stuff. So I was doing it more or less just so we could have extra holidays, to be fair. It was very much a case of, okay, well, we'll do a couple of events a year, and it gave us some money, and then we could have extra holidays. But I realized that I was really enjoying that aspect of work, just really doing the public relations, because it kept me doing the media stuff, which I was doing with BBC as a journalist, but also it kept me working closely with the community, and particularly the Black community, which is my passion. And then on top of that, I was promoting, particularly, we were doing music events. We did some huge reggae events right across the country. And so in 2012, BBC had been doing this whole program of redundancies over a number of years. And then in 2012, I just thought, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it again. I really I'm getting older. If I'm going to change my career, then I have to do it now. And I asked for redundancy. They agreed and paid me up, which meant I knew I could sustain and support myself whilst I tried to build the business. So I left the BBC full-time in 2012 and started working full-time running our public relations company. And then that stage is when I decided to add the training aspects to our business, because I felt that as we were so specialist in terms of the PR that we did, we wouldn't be able to financially sustain us as a company. So I did a training course to become an adult trainer and added media relations to the business. So we did PR and media training. And in 2013, we formally launched the company in public relations and media training.
So what type of clients use Shiloh PR services?
Well, as I said, we started off really focusing on events PR, but that has changed. And we used to do a lot of music events. We have done huge music events at Wembley, from gospel events to reggae concerts. We did the One Love Peace Festival. We've done huge soul events. But what has happened is that because our specialist is in getting access to the African and Caribbean community. So what we specialize in is saying it doesn't matter who you are as a client. If you have an event or you have a product, but you want to reach the African and Caribbean community, you want them to know about your event and your product, then that's where we come in. We specialize in working with grassroots media outlets as well as mainstream, because obviously that's where my experience lies. But we strengthen our arm by having an awareness, and not just awareness, but a relationship with grassroots Black media outlets. So last year we were working on the promotion for an independent film called Hero, which had a UK-wide tour in October, and in June it did 6 cinemas in London, and we worked on that. So we were the PR company that was responsible for the whole of that. We also did PR for the launch of the Black British Theatre Awards, and we're also the PR agency that does the Amazing Women Awards. So it's really, really the core is about who you're trying to reach. And therefore, if your need is to get the information out to the Black community, then that's where we come in. But we do seem to have been more and more pushed towards doing any events that are aimed at that community. So yeah, we've also done PR for people who are publishing their books. So it's as varied as that, to be fair.
Well, that sounds like quite a diverse client base that you entertain. Let's step into the In Conversation time tunnel. You received the honour of an MBE back in 1995. What was that for?
Well, that was, the official title is, I've got an MBE for services to the African and Caribbean community in Gloucestershire. So when I lived in Gloucester, I used to do lots and lots of voluntary work. I worked with I set up a charity. I used to pretty much sit on every committee there was looking at equality. At those times, it was called equality. It wasn't called diversity and inclusion as it is now. It was about equality and that kind of stuff. And so I literally used to sit on, was one of any committee that you went to that were trying to look at how they support the Black community, then you'd probably find me on it. And so it was that's what I got it for, is for my voluntary work within that sector in Gloucestershire. And that's a long time ago. It's before I kind of even understood the significance. To be fair, I've never fully appreciated what it meant until these latter years, to be honest. I've had it, like I said, since 1995. I was one of the first Black woman in Gloucester to have been awarded it. So I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. Apart from the fact that my family and I could come to Buckingham Palace and collect it. To me, it was just a medal, and it was put down in the drawer, and I never looked at it again, and I never did anything with it. And but as I am in these last kind of years, especially since setting up in business, I've used it more in as much as it gives you access. And it means that people may listen to you who wouldn't have listened to you before. That's about it, to be honest. I think my community were probably more impressed with it than I was at the time.
Has there been a particular life experience you believe changed you as a person fundamentally?
I don't know that there's any one life experience that's changed me. I worked with it, and I use that word work loosely because it's not paid work, it's voluntary work. But I've worked within the Black community since I was 16 years old. I was one of a group of young people, young teenagers who started the first youth club in Gloucester. And I volunteered through, doing that from then to setting up a charity to working towards getting support and facilities for our elders in the community. And for me, my joy, and I say joy with the greatest sense that you feel it as deep down as you can, is when I'm when I'm around people. I love people. And I think that's that's shaped me. And I look back at it as an adult now to wonder, why do I get so much pleasure from volunteering and from working with people? And I think it goes right back as far as I can remember when I was about a young toddler. My grandmother I suppose nowadays people would say that's what she did, because, she's 104 now, and it's only in the less than 10 years since she stopped going to clean her church. And as a toddler, she used to take me with her when she was doing things like cleaning the church, and she'd go to the hospitals and visit the sick and bring food. And I remember I think so when I do anything and I give back, I think that's where it takes me to. Because I remember, and even as I'm talking to you now, I can visualize myself skipping around at the hospital while my grand's there visiting older people and everybody fussing about, as a 2-3-year-old, everyone fussing about how, because my grandmother's a seamstress, so she used to dress me in these pretty little outfits, and people say, fussing about me. And I think that's where it comes from. I honestly think when I do anything like working within the community and people show appreciation in some way or acknowledgement in some way, it takes me back to then and how I felt. As I think 3 years ago, I underwent surgery for breast cancer. And I know for some people, going through something that's life-changing, it changes them, and they'll say, oh, now I value life more. And I'm having gone through that, that has shaped me and made me appreciate life more, because I think I've always appreciated life. So I can't, honestly, I know that doesn't necessarily answer your question, but I can't think of one specific incident that has shaped my life.
Well, everyone's different. I mean, sometimes life is a process, isn't it? You have various experiences as you go along the journey of life.
Yeah.
So what other interests do you have?
Okay, well, I cook. I love cooking, and I'm always experimenting with food. I read. I'm a reader. I think that's the things that I do that are not work. Because work for me, it isn't work. I love what I do. I wish it paid me more. As we all do.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Exactly. But, when I'm working on a project like last year when we were doing the film screening, it was wonderful just going to the screenings and seeing people enjoying the film I love my job. I love what I do. I love working with people. I just wished our community, our people would understand how important it is for us to, in what we do in terms of the public relations. I started doing that because I wanted our people to have exposure to the media. I wanted our people to see their stories in the media and to get publicity and exposure for what they were doing, because I know how important and how influential the media can be. But so I just wish our people would understand the value more, So when I say to people, you need PR, it's not because you don't have to use me, because I can't help everybody. And I've always tried to be very, very honest. I will never take on a job that I don't think I can do. But I think you need it, because a lot of us are languishing behind in what we're doing because we're not willing to invest in that promotion of ourselves, publicity, getting exposure for what we do. I mean, I remember recently Tesco's, or one of those well-known brand place, promoted these new brown plasters that they were doing. And someone I know who runs a PR company noted that how many years ago she was working with someone from our community who had come up with this idea, but because they refused to pay for her to do the job, she dropped it. And now you have the big old brand like Tesco's going on like they're the first ones to have come up with that concept and idea. We need to invest in our business, because I want us as a people to be building these legacies. Why shouldn't we be building huge business? Why should we be happy with little corner stores? Why don't you want a supermarket? Why don't you want a whole chain of supermarkets? And the people that have those recognize the value of marketing, PR, publicity. Our people don't. So I do love what I do. And I do, as you know, and I'm sure you do, we all of us were trying. We do so much free because our people just want everything free. But we know that we want them to benefit. Well, we do, don't we? We all do. Yeah. We want our people to grow, and we put so much effort into it. And I wish we would value what we have. Because we just, I mean, my job, I work from home most of the time, apart from when I have to go out to meet clients and stuff. But I don't even sell what I do. God bless everything, and thank God so far all our work has been through recommendations and through follow up, and you know we've not had to go out there and sell what we do. Maybe if I did, I would be earning the money. But you know, I love what I do, and I think that's what gives me the greatest joy.
So Evadney, how can people contact you?
Okay, right. Well, you can contact us via social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, and it's Shiloh, spelled SHILOH PR. So Shiloh PR. Unfortunately, I can't even say the website at the moment because we were hacked and the website had to be taken offline completely. So we're rebuilding it, and God willing, by the end of the month, we should be back up online. But at the moment, we're on all social media platforms, just Shiloh PR, and you will find us. And of course, they can email contact@shilohpr.com and get hold of us. But literally, if you go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we're there. LinkedIn, and of course, if they find me, Evadney Campbell PR, and we're everywhere.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Evadney.
Thank you. No, thank you very, very much, and I really appreciate the fact that you felt that I had a story I can tell, and I wish you and anyone who is listening, you know, throughout this awful pandemic, that we come through stronger and greater than before. It looks like we're going to be here for quite some time. Thanks so much, Nigel, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
You're most welcome. Take care now.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please join me for another In Conversations podcast very soon for more interesting and entertaining discussions. Stay safe.